As soon as they're coming in right now. Nope, there's Chad. Dr. Williams.
I take 6, 5 of the 6. It didn't matter to me. It ain't my money.
So pretty tonight. Who usually sits that way? Oh, Hunter, and Hunter's not here.
He's out.
I bet you can hear us outside if you stand outside the door. I'm kidding. I don't like this thing. Okay, there's not one. Is there? I'd rather be on.
Oh, thank you. With the chairs. With the chairs. That was neat. Yeah, waited. Philadelphia this morning and Friday tomorrow morning. Got another meeting. You know how it goes.
Good evening, everybody. It is after 6 o'clock, so we will call this meeting to order. I would ask that you rise as we ask Mr. Otha Andrews to lead us in prayer, Mr. Mack Jr. to lead us in pledge.
Those who will, would you join me as we utilize this great privilege that God has extended to us, the privilege of royal priesthood. Almighty and most gracious God, our Father, the eternal God and Father of him who endured Calvary. Him, Father God, who by an oblation of himself bought my pardon. We thank you for Jesus. Father God, we thank you for this day and all of the new mercies that you have included in it. We thank you for this board, its members, for the staff, for the entire Lincoln system. And Father God, as I look back in retrospect, you have been favorable toward us, especially our efforts, our provisions, our practices. You've even kept us, Father God, from micromanaging. You have kept us as a team working together in unity, and we thank you for it. We ask boldly, Father God, that you would continue as we strive for a quality education here in Lincoln Parish. We invoke your presence here with us tonight, your leadership, as we undertake these our sworn duties. Forgive us when we falter, where we falter, and may all we do bring honor and glory to you, and then benefit and enhance the dignity, the worthwhile, and well-being of all that we serve. We ask it in the only name that matters, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
you very much. I'll call your attention to the agenda. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to review the agenda. And I would ask that you adopt the agenda as printed unless there's any things that we need to discuss beforehand. Mr. Anders?
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as printed, if nothing from the public.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Donna Doss. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Thank you for that. You've also hopefully have had a chance to review the minutes of the last board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mitchum, for the motion to adopt the minutes. And a second? Thank you very much, Ms. Debbie Abram. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. No. Thank you, sir. Motion passes. Okay, so we'll move on to any unfinished business. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the new business of 6.1. I will open up for the public hearing the proposed budget for the fiscal year ending in June 30, 2025. Any public comment? Go ahead. Ms. Dick, go ahead.
So, okay, so I just present the budget at this point?
Sure.
Okay. We are bringing the revised budget to the board consideration here at the July meeting. Usually it is at the September meeting, but trying to spread out the work, I guess, throughout the year a little bit. We decided to go ahead and try to push hard to get it here presented at this meeting. So we worked to prepare the figures to estimate what it would take to operate across all programs for 2024-25 fiscal year. This budget, even though we don't have all of the information, I think at the time we were still waiting for the Minimum Foundation program to be funded for 24-25 to be approved, but then also we don't have our tax levies at this point. Usually in July, so whenever we levy taxes for the next tax year, calendar tax year for 2024, that hasn't been completed yet either. Plus, we have a reassessment year. So there are some things that are not included in this budget. And I'll note those whenever we go through that. So just in summary, I believe board members, you have your books there and your page numbers. I'll try to reference those. In the public, you have a copy, a short copy. Just reference pages also with the same numbering just to kind of follow along with the pages that we'll be discussing. So first of all, I just want to kind of just give an overview of what we are looking at for the 24-25 fiscal year. That would start on page 25. And this is very similar to what is presented to the board in the monthly financial reports. But this is what the end budget will look like. Well, for the budget, operating budget will look like for 24-25. So in total for general fund, we have all of our funds that make up our general fund, general accounts. Tonight we have the 67, 79, and 2020 sales tax funds, and then medical programs. Total estimated revenues in the general fund is $67.9 million. Total estimated expenditures is at $64 million. We have other sources of funds coming into the general funds, which is predominantly transfers from other local tax funds to help support the health fund payments that are charged to the general accounts for employees that are paid out of the general accounts. Other uses of funds, likewise, we have about $13.9 million that are estimated transfers being made for capital outlays, transfers being made to support some other special revenue funds. And then also, the majority of that being transferred into the general accounts to help support the health insurance program. Total estimated excess funds that were estimated for the general fund is right at $3.4 million, and we're projecting an ending fund balance of $37.3 million. Special revenue funds, this includes all those funds that have designated purposes, to be stated in a proposition or grant funds that are approved for specific purposes or programs. maintenance and operating funds were dedicated for maintenance and operations of facilities, throughout the school district. Total estimated revenues from these, special revenue funds is estimated to be $36.9 million. Expenditures at $30.1 million. Other sources of funds, again, this is transfers coming in from general funds, to help support some of these programs, $798,000. And the total other uses of funds is $6.8 million, which is the majority of that is going to the, transfers out to support the health fund, and then also indirect costs, being paid to the general accounts, from federal programs.
Normal expense. And then also, total excess of funds that we're anticipating in our special revenue funds is $745,000 for a total ending fund balance in our special revenue funds of $21.9 million. Overall, total revenues we're anticipating for this fiscal year, the new fiscal year, is $104.8 million. Total expenditures at $94.2 million. Total excess of funds of $4.1 million with an ending total combined fund balance of $59.2 million. Okay, so that's just a summary overall. I would like to then I'm going to go over some pages that are in your packet, starting on page 4. These are just some highlights of just major considerations, just kind of itemized that have gone into the consideration of this budget. Our minimum foundation program, I want to talk about that for just a second. We're estimating, let's see. We're estimating total general fund, MFP program revenues at $35.7 million for the year. This is based on the preliminary estimated MFP formula. Overall, we're looking at about a $511,000 increase in our MFP. We're not anticipating growth in students at this point. Students have been pretty level this past year compared to the previous year, but we are experiencing an increase because of the way that the formula works, and it considers the wealth of a district compared to other districts across the state, and also the effort and funding that we do to generate revenues to support education in Lincoln Parish. There's a lot of factors that are considered, and overall that's going to result in an increase in our MFP of about $515,000. That is with total combined effort required between the state and the school board for local funding of about $9,732 per pupil is what the MFP formula projects is required to provide a minimum cost of education for students, and that's an increase of about $369 per pupil. That figure ranks about 43rd across the state, 43rd highest per pupil amount out of 69 parish and city school systems. The state's funded portion of this per pupil amount is $669. That's approximately an increase of $119 per student from the state that we're expecting. Again, this is based on the preliminary MFP formula and not the final one, which we're still waiting on that to be published. Usually we get it in July. We expect it any time. So there could be some adjustments just because of numbers and how that formula is projected, statewide. So the state's funded portion, that ranks about 46th across the state, highest out of the 69 school systems, city and parish school systems. The school board's locally funded portion to contribute to the formula is about $4,064. That's an increase of about $45, which ranks about 22nd across the state. So we do a great effort locally to support education in Lincoln Parish, and it shows through the MFP formula. Okay, another item I want to point out too is that even though we do get about $35 million in the MFP formula, we really don't net that that funding amount in order to utilize it fully for our operations. We do have a deduction that's taken from that, and that's for a local representation of the tax funds that we collect that is transferred to other school districts, state funded school districts, well, state school districts, so school systems that actually enroll students who live in Lincoln Parish. And those would be charter schools or other special schools established by the state. That deduction is about $4.7 million that happens through the monthly MFP payment process. So that's for the MFP. The per pupil amount funded in the MFP is remaining the same, about $4,015. That's not changing. There were some other proposed increases in the MFP that we are expecting to receive that's not included in the budget, and we'll share more about that whenever those come through from the state. The sales tax revenues, just because you know that we've reported some down months and some, and I'm sorry, I'm back on page number 4, kind of going through the bullet items. So the sales tax collections are expected to be flat. We haven't budgeted any increase in the sales tax. I would go based on trend, but the trend is too high, I think, based on the how flat we've been the last few months. So we're just going to be conservative and budgeted level throughout all of our 5 sales tax funds that we have. We had an estimate of a one-time state appropriation for support and certified staff stipends last year. That was included in the budget, and it remains in the budget this year as the legislature has approved that. And so we are waiting on final allocations for that, but we estimated based on the same payments that we made last year for that payment. Also, the state also did approve in the MFP the continuation of the differentiated compensation for teachers. That, of course, was in the budget last year, and we just left the same estimate in the budget for this year. Again, we are waiting on final adjustments for that as well. That's based on the staffing and staffing counts that are submitted to the state on October 1 every year. Property tax revenues, we're estimating across the board that that's going to be increasing about 2.7% based on past trends on how assessed values of property have grown from year to year. It does not include any estimate for their reassessment that's going on now. That'll be brought to the board at a later time. As we work through that process, it gets more technical every year, the process that you have to go through to try to do a reassessment, but that's being under consideration right now. What we've realized this year is the state retirement systems did decrease the employer contributions to for every dollar that is contributed that is paid in salary to employees who work full-time 20 hours or more per week on a regular basis. That is a decrease of about for teachers' retirement system, our costs decrease about 6.5%. And board members, if that kind of, as we talk about each fund, kind of highlight that in each fund as we talk how much the savings would be for that. But it's a pretty nice savings to actually have costs decrease instead of increase for the school system. So we do appreciate that, and it's also a sign of how the state is managing, or the retirement systems are managing their funds for the continued support of employees even into retirement. For the education stabilization funds, those, of course, we've been talking about that, and that will be ending on September the 30th of 2024. We have approximately 42 positions that were paid with ESF funds in years past. All of those positions have been moved, transferred, or eliminated through attrition, or placed in the budget, other funds that are budgeted throughout the budget. So education stabilization funds this year will have very minimal salaries paid out of it. We're really focused on the curriculum, technology, completing some capital improvement projects that are related to air quality and distance, spatial, and distance needs. So that is underway now, and again, just spending that down, and it's actually probably, we've done a lot of curriculum purchases to help support this year with ESF funds. And so that will be the continuation of rolling off the utilization of ESF funds for the actually continuing into the 25-26 fiscal year, where we'll see the impacts of that as well.
So what specifically positions were eliminated through attrition?
It would be those the substitutes, the static subs.
So I thought we said that we were not gonna do that, though. Isn't that what?
We didn't cut anybody, they're still gonna be working for us, they'll just be regular subs,
Day by day subs.
day-to-day subs.
Okay, and then also moving on down, we did have some transfers to the parish-wide capital improvements fund, capital projects fund of about 1.4 million. We have estimated about 900,000 that's going to be transferred from the 2000 ad valorem fund. About 20% of that is dedicated for capital maintenance and improvements, and that's being transferred out. The 2020 sales tax funds, the excess reserve portion of those funds, about 500,000 is being transferred out to support continued parish-wide capital improvements. We do have also fund transfers from the to help support our local our school district maintenance and operating funds that fall short of covering utility costs. The Ruston School District about 110,000, and then the Shudron School District about 90,000 for this next year. That should help prop those funds up through the collections when we start getting collections for the next year in December, January 24, January 25. General fund is also budgeting a transfer about $350,000 to the school food service fund. We see that we need to support that fund a little bit more, and as we are continuing CEP, currently assessing the operations there to see where we can cut costs, increase participation, to where we can reduce that. I don't think we'll be able to reduce it fully, but to continue that. There's just been so many cost increases that have hit school food service with food costs and programs, so we're just trying to work with the supervisor there to try to get the program working as efficiently as we possibly can. Fund transfers of $360,000 is also being transferred to support the nursing program and the Medicaid fund. Medicaid funds this year, we have started getting those reimbursements. It's just been slow working with our software provider trying to get that done. But I think we're well on the way to get it, for that to happen. But still, even though that is coming in, it's not going to fund 100% of the cost of the nursing program. And so we have about 13 nurses, and 2 of those are paid by general fund. We have 6 part-time that are paid through the HEALS grant, and then the remainder of those 13 are paid through Medicaid. And the funding just isn't sufficient to just continue those, to support those salaries, even though we recognize we need those positions in our schools. So that's to help support that. A lot of it too, the cost reimbursement program with DHH, it takes time. It's well over a year before we get those reimbursements in for cost reimbursements. This isn't the day-to-day Medicaid billing. And sometimes it just takes a while. For instance, we just got in April the cost reimbursement for the 21-22 year. And that's just the timeline and the process that they use. It just takes a while to get it. So
The company's called DHA, the third party.
no, that's the Department of Health and Hospitals.
Who are you collecting the working with the Medicaid department?
Okay, so we're using our student system, our EdGear. It's called J-Campus.
J-Campus?
Yeah, that's the program we're using this year.
And so with the school system our size, we're estimated only 833,000. That's what we're looking to project on page 25 with Medicaid. What's the total of the revenue is at
598,000.
this size, only $598.
Right. Okay, and so then we have transfers, I'm sorry, in the 93 ad valorem fund, we do have about, we continue our allocation of funds for replacement of district fleet school buses. We have about $550,000 budgeted for that, for replacement of regular route buses. Transportation fuel costs, that was considered, and we decided that that should probably kept at a constant as, you know, the same amount that was budgeted last year, just because those prices have kind of just stayed steady, and actually costs are lower now than they were this time last year, so we figured this would probably, you know, it'd be a good idea to just keep that cost level in the budget. We did increase contributions to the school board self-insured comprehensive medical and dental plan by about $1.2 million across the funds. This appears as transfers from our local tax funds to the general fund to help support that. The general fund then pays that out it's charged as an expense that's paid to our health fund to cover that cost. We did not have any indications, thank goodness, of any significant increase in our property insurance premiums. Actually, it's going to be a little bit less than what we paid last year. Not much, but a little bit less. They went up on the property values, on the replacement costs, so that kind of ate into some of our savings. But we are glad to see that that has slowed down as well. We did estimate the one-time June salary supplement payment for certified and support staff that was paid last month. Estimated cost of $2.3 million. That was a one-time payment out of the 2000 ad valorem tax fund. The 50% portion that's dedicated for salaries and benefits. That's a one-time payment that's drawn that fund balance down to approximately the amount of payments that are normally made out of that fund every year. So that was taken out of the budget, out of the 93 ad valorem budget. I'm sorry, the 2000 ad valorem budget. We have too many funds, y'all. Okay, so the federal restricted indirect cost rate to the general fund, we are seeing a slight decrease in that rate compared to last year. So that did decline, but also for our education stabilization funds, we are going to see a drop in our indirect cost rate this year of about 50%. That's normally paid to general fund, just because the amount of funds that are available to spend is a lot less. So we're going to see that go away in the future, and the general fund won't see the benefit of those funds going forward. Okay, so that's just kind of some of the highlight of the most important key features of the budget, and you'll see that as you read throughout the budget. The various things that are impacting funds individually for the public. The budget will be posted on the website as soon as the board approves it tonight, if that's their desire to do so. And we do have, I would just want to hit some highlights on summary of just some figures of what our total revenues are. I know we talked about those individually and what was happening with those, but the MFP makes up about 37.7% of our budgeted revenue for the district. The sales and use taxes are estimated at $29.1 million across all funds. That's approximately 27.8%. Followed by property taxes, which is 19.2%. I'm sorry, at $19.2 million. That's 18.3%. Our federal grants this year, 14.5%, and we will see that drop after our ESSER funds go away. Other revenues, 3.8%, and these are some other state funds, other grant funds that are received by the school system. And then investment interest, that is estimated or budgeted at $1.9 million. That's approximately 1.9% We actually decreased that estimate to be conservative. You just never know what's going to happen with interest. Going forward, about 11%. So that's about an 11% drop compared to what we actually think we're going to get for the 23-24 fiscal year. So that kind of summarizes our revenues overall. And then, let's see, on page 28, this just kind of recaps the operating expenditures so that you can see the different classes of where we spend the dollars. So salaries are estimated in the budget at $48.8 million. Employee benefits at $24.7 million, and in salaries and employee benefits, this is all funds combined, general funds and special revenue funds. It accounts for about 78.1% of our total budgeted expenditures. Then we have our professional services or contract services at $2.6 million. Let's see. That's about 2.8% of the budget. We have purchased property services, which accounts for approximately 3.4%. Other purchase services are about 5.1%. Supplies at $7.7 million account for approximately 8.2%. And supplies does include utility costs, electricity and gas. And then property is at $2.1 million, is approximately 2.3% of the total expenditures of the school district combined. And so that is the budget overall. I know it's a lot of information. We have, I think we've refined it as much as we can. I'm sure there's more that we could do to kind of get it exact, but a budget is just that, it's a budget. So with that, Mr. President, if you will have any comments.
Thank you. So now, I guess is the right time to open up the public hearing for the proposed budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. Any public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close public comments. And then I would receive a motion that we adopt the proposed budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I so move that we adopt it.
Mr. Hancock with the first.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mitchum. Any comments from the board? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor. We need to do a roll call vote on this one. Yes.
Linda Henderson.
Yes.
Hunter Smith is absent. Otha Anders.
Yes.
George Mack.
Yes.
Debbie Abram.
Yes.
Danny Hancock.
Yes.
Donna Doss.
Yes.
Danielle Williams.
Yes.
David Ferguson.
Yes.
Clark Canterbury.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Joe Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, I should have let you done that.
Good job.
Okay, moving on to,
I just want to make a comment. I just want to appreciate what the financial staff does for us, because it's a tremendous job, and a lot of money, and a lot of figures and all, but just want to thank them for the job they do.
absolutely. I mean,
More hoops that we have to jump through that.
I think you said last count was 2 hours you spent on this? Was it? Just kidding. Just kidding. Thank you very much.
I do appreciate my staff. They're very supportive, they work hard, and it just takes a whole team effort, including administration. If it's not that, I mean, the budget wouldn't be as good as if we didn't have the people in place to really be cognizant of how we're spending money and where we're spending it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mitchum, for that. Okay, so item number 6.3 is to approve the 24-25 one-time compensation payment for retention and recruitment of certain employees, Juanita Duke and Mr. Durrett.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so, So this is the third year that we'll be making the recruitment and retention stipend payment from ESSER funding. This will be paid from ESSER 3 funds, or Education Stabilization Funds. We are increasing the amount this year. It was $1,200 for certified staff last year. We're proposing now $1,800. For support staff, it'll be half of that at $900. And then for those part-time support and uncertified staff who work regular schedules of 20 hours or more, they will receive a $720 payment. The measure for this will be employment through September 27th, 2024. And we will make the payment with the October payroll. And we do have a condition for new hires. If they come to us and they receive the full payment, because of Memorial September the 27th, 2024, if they leave us before November the 15th, we'll take a portion of that back. So this will be the final installment of the recruitment and retention stipend payment for the 24-25 school year. We request the board's approval of that and the compensation plan as well.
Okay. Do I have a motion that we approve this one-time compensation payment? So moved. Thank you very much, Mr. Canterbury. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Debbie Abram. Any comment from the public? Any comments from the board?
Okay, so you said, I'm looking at the part-time employees who are approved and scheduled to work at least 20 hours per week in a permanent position? That's the definition of part-time?
Right, it's not going to be, like your CBCB coaches, it won't be,
Substitutes, it's gonna be your 28-hour workers, the custodians, the paraprofessionals, who work those 28 hours.
They have to be considered a permanent position, that's what you're saying?
Well, recurring,
Okay.
yeah, they have a set schedule where they're working a set schedule every week. It's not random, like a substitute would work as needed.
Any other? All in favor for passing this, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, that matter passes. We'll move on now to Mr. Payton at 6.4, requesting permission for quotes at Cypress Springs Elementary Security.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's talk about fencing at Cypress Springs. There are some areas on the outlying campus that are in need of some fencing. The south boundary, west and north, there's no fencing at all. And on the south and the west, it's just a heavily wooded area. And I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but the area on Barnett Springs Road, there's been a tremendous amount of building and development out there. And it gets up pretty close to Cypress Springs. So the staff at the school has indicated that on occasion they do see people walking across the lower campus, and that's not a good thing. Principal Barry Kilgore has requested, if possible, if we could fence it, it would be good. Estimated cost is around $75,000, and my recommendation to the board is to grant permission to ask for quotes for fencing at security fencing in Cypress Springs.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the request to get quotes for fencing? Thank you, Ms. Donna Doss. Second by Debbie Abram. Any comment from the public? Any conversation from the board?
Will this be like a 6-foot chain link?
It's, I'm sorry, I should have said, it's a 72-inch commercial chain link fence. It's a pretty formidable barrier for somebody to get over.
Good question.
You won't get over it.
Maybe together you ought to work to get it.
Just put peaches up there and I'll get it.
Any other comment, questions? All in favor of allowing him to get quotes on that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Payton,
Okay?
parking lot at Ruston High School.
John, you gonna run our pictures? I need a picture of the parking lot. Be a good time to get this one out of the way. Yeah, there it is. Okay. That dirt area that you see is right in front of the gym that has been newly remodeled. We've been working on this project for about 2 years. I don't know if you remember what it looked like. It was a deep ravine. I mean deep. I hesitate to say how many feet it was, but we were very fortunate in that we got enough dirt at no expense to the district to fill it up. So right now the dirt work is complete. The retention pond there on the back side of the slope, it's complete. The drainage, the catch basins, the sewer manholes, there's a sewer line that runs on the edge of it. We had to raise the manholes up. All that's complete. All we need to do now is consider getting it hard surfaced, either concrete or asphalt. And if we choose to do this, it's going to provide around 50 additional parking places at Ruston High. And parking is, I don't care where you are, parking is always a premium. This is the fourth parking lot that I've been involved with, and regardless of the size, the day you open it, it's full. So that'll happen here. So
Parking's expensive.
yeah, you're not joking, it's expensive. So my recommendation is that the board grant permission to advertise for bids for the final hard surface of the Ruston High parking lot, and grant permission for the district administration to accept a qualified bid that is within budget.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna get bids on asphalt and concrete, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So would that decision be made after we get the bids to go?
Well,
But asphalt is almost as expensive as concrete.
yeah, it's
now.
not much difference between concrete and asphalt. Asphalt, you got to prepare a base, like 8 inches of SP2 rock, and you got under that, you got to replace that geocloth. So that's an expense incurred when you use asphalt, but it maintains its composition better. You know, if you do that, it won't crack. And concrete, of course, you got to form it up and pour it, but it's pretty close. I would imagine, guessing what's happened in the last parking lots, that most of these contractors are going to bid asphalt.
Thank you. Any public comment? Oh, wait, I should first get a motion and a second before we go to public comment. Do I accept a motion to allow Mr. Payton to get bids for the parking lot?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock. Can I get a second? Thank you, Mr. Mack. Public comment.
What is the timetable on if we get some bids? Would it be in before school is out next year?
Possible. Yeah. You know, once you secure the bids, I mean, you got to advertise 30 days, so, you know, and summer will be gone before, you know, you can think about getting started.
Any questions from the board?
Who's gonna cut the grass on that slope?
I'll tell you, you notice this dark color? Coach Ball and I are working hard. We take turns dragging hoses and sprinklers around trying to get the grass to grow. I mean, all the rain we had, then we get where we need water for grass, can't get a drop of rain.
All right, all in favor of allowing this bids to happen on the parking lot, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Okay, Mr. Durrett, consider lean frog proposal, item number 6.6.
So we had the Lean Frog report last meeting. We're asking to move forward with them again to do an organizational and reporting structure review. This will identify recommendations, organizational reporting structure improvements, develop process, technology, and workflow recommendations, and define standard performance metric recommendations. This will be a cost of $17,980. we are just asking for permission to move forward with this compensation review.
Thank you for that. Can I get a motion to accept, that we accept this proposal? Thank you, Donna Doss. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Any public comment? Any comment from the board? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to reports. Mr. Payton, construction update. Sorry, you almost got comfortable there.
All right, Mr. John, let's go to the football field first. Okay, I hesitate. I'm sorry, I have to show you this picture. That's not what the field looks like. And what you see there, those areas of white, I had to do a little research and ask the people what was going on. But they're transporting very small rocks. They're no bigger than a pencil point, half the size of a pencil point. And most of them are kind of quartz colored. And the reason they're putting those rocks on that field and they're distributing them, they'll work them down in there. You'll never see them. That's to make the turf, the nap on the turf, stand up. That's what they told me. So that's completed. It doesn't look like that. It's green. And the only thing left to do, the old turf, old field, had some little rubber type BBs matted into the turf to help serve as a cushion when somebody's tackled or they fall on the turf. The new turf has similar, but it's not rubber. It's something that's environmentally friendly, and not only does it serve as a cushion for a fall, it also supposedly keeps the turf cool. So, yeah, and basically the superintendent of the job told me, I didn't get a chance to go there today, but they're basically through with that. The goalposts have been removed, and they've been sent off to get powder coated, and they'll be back in about 3 weeks, and we'll be through with that project completely. Okay, let's go to the tennis court. Well, we can't call it a tennis court anymore. That's at the south end. You look to the left, you see the end of the football field. That used to be tennis courts, and they were no longer used, so we decided to make a parking lot out of it. Parking at Ruston High comes at a premium price, particularly at football games. There's not many choices. I mean, you can park at the main campus, and then walk way over to the field, or you can park on the freshman parking lot. Of course, a lot of people park on the city-owned cemetery. But we decided, we took the 12-foot fence around the outer perimeter, took it down, put up a pipe rail fence. I think you can see it running around the edge. It's painted red. Put a gate up. We had the surface sealed with a black coating, and we had it striped. And believe it or not, there's 151 parking places there. Really? Yes, sir. And the lights, we had to remove 2 poles down the center, and the lights still work, so we can turn the lights on for it. In addition, on this project, in addition to the parking lot, there's going to be 2 new ticket booths. One is at the pavilion, so that people that come in from that area can buy their tickets and enter. And the other is on the west side. The old ticket booth on the other side was just about to fall down. So we moved it down the street about 50 yards, and they're in the process of building that now, and it'll be ready time football season gets here.
Will they charge for parking in football season?
I better not get into that. That's Coach Ball and Dan Grass's and Superintendent Durrett's business. So I'm staying out of that. Okay. Let's go to Simsbury. As you know, the voters in Simsbury passed their $10 million project, and construction has started there at the school. There's really not any pictures I can take now. That's the only one I have at the construction. You know, years ago, before the district went wireless with internet, every school had a pole. And that pole that you see there is suspended in the air. A crane's got it up in there. We had to get it removed because it's in the way. And that's what you see there. All schools still have the poles. They no longer use them because everything is wireless. So the areas that are concerned first at Simsboro, they started on the gym. It was kind of like Ruston High gym. It was just old and worn out. They're going to make the lobby 50% bigger, build some locker rooms, restrooms, and they're going to have to totally demo it from the concrete down to the dirt and the ceiling because the new construction just won't fit the old. So they're going to tear everything out. But it'll the doors to the gym now, rather than open up in the parking lot, will open up toward the track facing east. Okay. The second area on that bond, I think that's about all the pictures, Mr. John. The baseball, softball lights, they're going to be replaced. That's second, and they will be ready for use by ball season in 2025. They're basically inoperative now. They're just worn out and they won't run. So that'll all be replaced. Going to get a new ag shop on the north end toward the railroad track on the campus. 6 new classrooms in the auditorium. They're going to refinish the floor and put new seats in and put new carpet down the aisle. So that's, as we go along, I'll be able to, and they're just starting the demo down there now. It's been light demo, like removing things in the gym like lockers and fire extinguishers, water fountains, cameras, internet drops. That's what's been going on. But as of today, they really started some heavy demo on the gym there. But I'll get you plenty of pictures as we go along. Okay, the other projects in Ruston, and the $17 million bond that was approved by the voters. And I can tell you this, we're in the process right now of doing another Seymour project on the Ruston district. And if we make it through this, then on September the 3rd, superintendent has told me we'll have a contractor for the Ruston projects. And let me list them to you here. These are the projects, and in Shudrint too, but it won't be Seymour. Was Seymour included in that? That's different down there. Okay. These projects that I'm going to list to you are in the planning stage now. Nothing has actually been done. In Shudrint, they want 3 classrooms and restrooms. At the high school, they want a multi-purpose building. You know, they passed a $2 million bond down there. Now, at Ruston High, of course, there's the covered pavilion, practice pavilion. There's the renovation of the girls' softball out on Bittersweet. That's part of it. At the Ruston High baseball field out here, they're going to rebuild, tear down the grandstands out of there, rebuild that, new press box, new backstop. At Ruston High, you got some security upgrades to the front door, to the doors around the school, particularly the front entrance where anybody could just walk in. But when they get through, that's not going to happen anymore. You'll have to be kind of like these elementary schools. You'll be secured before you can enter the building. And also those scanners, 3 scanners at Ruston High and 1 at junior high, that'll be part of it. Also, the boys and girls basketball in the gym. You know, we just got through renovating the gym on the volleyball side. Well, the same thing's going to happen on the other side, but it'll be boys and girls basketball. And then we're going to put a parking lot at Ruston Junior High, kind of in the front of the school toward the STEM building, and do some fencing around the front of the school and some electronic gates. As you know, there's going to be a lot of changes out there on Tall Button Road pretty soon. And Ruston Junior High, I mean, the fences there now was put up in 1984. It's a little 4-foot fence. That won't work anymore. So those projects there are ones that are in the planning right now. Okay, any questions?
What do you mean by the planning? Like, what does that entail?
Trying to figure out what you're going to do before you start drawing. Working with school. Yeah, there's drawing. Before he draws, he consults the people at the school, me, Mr. Durrett, to figure out, you know, what you really want and what it's going to look like.
But I thought that's what we initially did before we went to the voters
Well,
and ask them.
we didn't confine it, specifically what we were gonna do. Generally, we told them what we were gonna do. The planning is getting specific and actually drawing it out with the architect.
He has to draw it up now,
Yeah.
so that when we do the CMAR, they know how to bid that and what they're getting prices
Right.
for and what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
We had a general outline of everything we were doing. This is more specific of how they'll build it and all of that.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Item 7.2, a report from Mr. Tim Nutt regarding discipline and the YRC update.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. I've been asked to give just a brief overview of some of the potential changes that are going to happen with discipline, and also an update about maybe some of the direction that we're going. I want to start in talking about YRC. That's our Youth Rescue Center. That is our alternative site. We are, after a lot of discussion, starting in the spring and throughout the summer, we've elected to keep that setting intact with some tweaks and some additional supports. But initially, there was talk about maybe the high school students going virtual, and we just decided that wasn't the way to go. So the students will have a place. Students will have a place to go, and I'm happy about that because I spend a lot of time at the alternative school and meeting with the students and with their families. So it will be there. It will be at the same place. We're going to tweak what it looks like and maybe some of the services that are offered. One of the things that does happen while those students are there is that the mental health counselor from that school goes and meets with that student, especially those that may be there for a period of time. We're also going to add an elementary element. To date, the elementary schools have kind of had their own little settings where we're going to have one place where the K through 5 students can go, and actually what we're adding to that is that first out-of-school suspension, the families will have the opportunity to, instead of students being home, they can actually go to that setting for that period of time, any out-of-school suspension that would last 3 days or more. There'll be a high school room and then a junior high room as well, and then they'll be staffed with certified personnel to help those students, and hopefully collectively we can have it to where they don't return. As I said, the high school students, vast majority of the high school students, if there is a placement from an expulsion hearing, then that's where they will go. There are rare instances, there always have been rare instances where a student may not be allowed to go there, but that would be in extreme circumstances or the repeat of some of the more aggressive behaviors that we occasionally see. In conjunction with that, some of the proactive measures that we don't just wait until there's a hearing to try to intervene and provide supports. We're going to insist that our principals and assistant principals have a meeting with the family and the student upon that student's return on the first out-of-school suspension. Let's start early, intervene, see what's going on. One of the reasons we're doing that as part of Act 324, one of the new acts, on that second out-of-school suspension, the principal is supposed to set forth some efforts to look at the situation with that student and see if there are any underlying emotional challenges that student may be facing. Our mental health counselors, which I'm happy to say, we have one on almost every campus, are going to be one of the key people involved in that. And I work very closely with a lot of these mental health counselors. And so If there are some issues that are detected, then that mental health counselor is trained to recommend to the family or provide some supports there. Also, on that second out of school suspension, that would serve as a meeting, since now the law is changing, the hearing on a third out of school suspension as opposed to a fourth. But I do want to say that just because I conduct a hearing doesn't mean that that student is placed. I conduct a lot of hearings as part of an intervention process. The student, rather than being placed at the alternative site, many times it's we meet here. Most of the hearings are here at the school board office, and we talk about some strategies to get that student back on track. And rather than go to the alternative school, they go back to the school provisionally with hopefully some strategies that will eliminate future problems.
So who serves on that hearing
What's that?
panel, that hearing group, who serves on it?
Okay, well, I'm the hearing officer. In the hearing itself, the administration of the school presents, and then the family and the student are there to present their side.
If that child is special ed is involved in that
Yes,
hearing?
that's correct. And for a special needs student, there's an MDR process that happens in conjunction with the hearing. The IEP team, which involves school administration, teachers, special ed staff, and the parent, that MDR, that manifestation determination, which is held to determine if that special needs child, if their behaviors are caused by their exceptionality. If it is determined in that meeting, then that IEP team is actually the group that decides what happens with that child next.
When we have a kid that, they said, he's been a bad little booger since first grade, do we research him when he makes 6th, 7th, 8th grade? Do we go back and do research to try to figure out what's causing this problem? I guess your mental health counselor would have to do that. Because I believe every kid has a reason for acting out.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't define it and find out what it is, I had one kid when I worked in that alternative school, he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
He'd just sit there. But when that teacher called on him to talk, he could say more cuss words without a second sentence. That's because he stuttered. And when I found that out, oh boy, that boy did good. I just told him, if he raised his hand, call on somebody else, because he opened his mouth, in alternative school, everybody did. There was total disruption in that. And he turned out to be a pretty good kid. But if we research that behavior and find it out, we can help them. I did it in both of high school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, all of them.
Well, and we've had some success stories there with digging down further. Bottom line is, I'd like to be put out of business, to be honest with you. So that would be the goal. Unfortunately, there are behaviors that happen and must be addressed. I don't conduct hearings on 97% of our students in the parish, and so we have to balance being an advocate for those 97% and trying to provide that 3% with what they need to try to be successful. And hopefully, moving forward, we can forge relationships with the parents. The parents are the key. We have them 8 hours a day at schools, 16 hours a day, they're with home and family. So one last thing that I want to say is that the law has not taken away the latitude that we have when there is a hearing, especially for very serious things. We do have some latitude to modify the length of that placement, and we also provide opportunities for that student, even if they're placed, say, for 60 days, an opportunity to work their way back sooner than that. That happens frequently, and I work very closely with Mr. Finley over there at YRC for that, so.
What does your transition out services look like? Like when we get ready to transition a student back to that home campus, what does that look like?
Well, like I said a few minutes ago, that mental health counselor is involved, and if the parent approves, the vast majority of the parents say, yes, please bring that child in. That mental health counselor meets with them. Frequently, they meet with them when they don't have such a heavy caseload. They'll meet with them right before they come back. Usually the AP intercepts that student on their first day back to just kind of try to get things back. I don't have a lot of repeat business. In fact, I started on my data today for the schools, and there's about 10% of the students that I conduct hearings on have the repeat behaviors. Vast majority don't. So, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, you mentioned earlier special services.
Was it special needs students?
Special needs, yes.
Mhm.
Would you elaborate on some of those and what those entail?
Well, our students in Lincoln Parish who have been classified as special ed, they have an IEP, an individualized education plan that provides for additional services, whether they're academic, emotional supports, whatever. When that student gets to a point where it's time for a hearing, the IEP team and special ed staff are involved in the process of determining next steps for that student. But it's a student, 504 students who also receive services. 504 also fall under that too. About 29% of my hearings are with special needs or 504 students. So, and it's a distinct process. Over the last 2 or 3 years, our special ed supervisors have worked to separate the hearing from that MDR, from that manifestation determination, so that they're two separate parallel actions that are making decisions.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to number 7.3, personnel. Dr. Lewis.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to report 2 administrative points of reference, 4 faculty resignations, 5 faculty and staff recommendations, 6 faculty points of reference, and 1 custodian resignation.
Thank you for that. Ms. Duke, you've got the next 3 items.
Okay. The June sales tax report, you have that. This is the last sales tax report for the 23-24 fiscal year. It is a cash basis report. Total overall collections for the month of June compared to this month last year is up about 1%. Overall for the year, net cash collections are approximately 0.8% less than they were the previous fiscal year in 22-23. Okay, so we are relatively flat, so that's reflected in our new budget for the next year. The next report is the monthly financial report for May 2024. Total year-to-date revenues collected across all funds is about $103,799,057. Total expenditures to date is $83,874,937. This is the month of May. We have already run our for the month of June, July summer, and August summer salaries. Those accruals. So you will see for our final June report that our expenditures will jump up. Total excess deficiency to date is in excess of $12.2 million. Total ending fund balance of $63.4 million. Of that, in the general fund, $29.7 million represents about 48.2% of budgeted expenditures in the general fund. balance that is considered to be undesignated. Okay. And then lastly, we have our health fund report for the month of May. So total contributions for the month of May coming in, including interest income, is $1.2 million. Total year-to-date contributions to the plan is about equal with this time last year through May. Total fixed costs for the month of May of $345,000. Overall, 1.7 for the year compared to 1.68 for the year last year. Relatively about the same, ticking up just a little bit there. Mainly that's driven by membership. Total claims expenses for the month of May is $1.2 million. Year to date at $5.4 million compared to $4.1 million last year overall. We're up for the plan year, which is a calendar year, of $1.3 million. So overall, a net change in decrease in net assets for the month of May of $373,000 and a total for the year of around right at $1 million.
Okay, thank you for that. Superintendent?
Yeah, not much, just, we'll be closed Thursday and Friday this week for the 4th of July. I wanted to thank Ms. Amy Miller, who is here tonight in the back, who will be leaving the DA's office and going to work in another place. We appreciate you serving with us and helping us
Thank you.
the last several months. So we hate to lose you and appreciate all your work you've done with us.
Thank you very much. Any final comments from the board?
Sure. Got a question. I think they said it's like 400 and some kids in summer school K-8. Is that true? 289. Okay, my question. Okay. How many of that 85 last year are back in summer school again this summer? Did we track them enough to see if they progress or regress?
We are tracking them and we can get that information for you. I don't have it right off the top of my head.
But I'd like to know the subject areas too. We got that 289 kids. Was it reading again? Was it math, science, English? So what was it? So we'll know. I just want to know so I'll know we are addressing the issues.
Okay.
And see if we meeting every kid's need. That's always, help every kid. And I just want to know how many.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
And with the new mandate that's coming for the 3rd grade reading, Ms. Talley, I'm requesting for a report about the plan that we have moving forward, because we will have a lot of students that we have to deal with as far as making sure. That concerns me. Just
Yeah,
want to hear the plan.
we're required to develop a plan and submit it to the State Department, so I'll be happy to share that with you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Do I have a motion we adjourn? Thank you very much.